We are just under an hour away from the arrival of former Vice President Joe Biden, as well as the former Second Lady, Dr. Joe Biden.
Where we find 47 ABC's Lili Zheng, who joins us outside of the Quillen Arena at the Delaware State Fairgrounds in Harrington. Lili.
Hey, David. Well, this rally actually just got started at around 4:30 and ending at 5:30 tonight. Now, very similar to what he told the crowd in Berlin earlier this week, Donald Trump told the crowd that he wants to bring more jobs back into America and that he personally believes that the political system here is rigged. The governor-elect has mentioned that there are going to be hard times ahead. What do you have to say about that? This marked the end of a Democratic filibuster. However, lawmakers like Kane are still voicing concerns over tonight's vote. Well, Governor Markell did take some time today to reflect on his 8 years in office, noting that there were both high and low times, but today was not all about reminiscing. In fact, he made it very clear that there is still a lot of work to be done. But come Tuesday morning, they are expected to be filled with guests for the inauguration of Governor-elect John Carney.
What was the energy like there today?
Well, Emily, many officials we spoke to say that town spirit was exactly what was needed following this election, bearing the hatchet and starting Delaware's newly elected officials on a good foot. This is the message these cancer patients, survivors, and volunteers want U.S. Representative Andy Harris to hear.
Obviously, Congressman Harris is the only Republican in Maryland, and this is going to be Republican-led, so we hope we all have a voice in saying what's going to happen.
The Republican-backed American Health Care Act, unveiled Monday, follows through with the 2016 campaign promise by President Donald Trump to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. Central to the bill, eliminating the individual and employer mandate. When it comes to health care, Jim Thomas, a member of the local leadership council for the American Cancer Society, says it boils down to three things: accessibility, adequacy, and affordability. Things Julianne Edwards says saved her life. She was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer 2 years ago, rushed into emergency surgery before undergoing 6 months of chemotherapy.
When you have young, healthy people contributing to the market, then that makes it possible for insurance companies not to charge higher premiums. And so by having those people in the market, that's how this has worked so far.
Under the GOP plan, 2 major provisions of the ACA are kept in place, those being protection of those with pre-existing conditions and allowing young adults to remain on their parents' plan until the age of 26, putting the interests of patients first, according to supporters of the plan.
We provide the American people with what we've asked for and what they've asked for: greater choice, lower cost, and flexibility to choose the plan that best suits their family's needs.
However, Edwards tells 47 ABC, while the issue of health care has come with a lot of political rhetoric, it needs to be humanized.
I'm happy to share my story, to put a human face on the lives that the ACA has saved, and the worth that it intrinsically has because of that.
Now, 47 ABC did reach out to Representative Harris's office for a statement. He tells us, as a physician, he fought in the Maryland Senate to ensure people with pre-existing conditions were covered under the Maryland high-risk pool. That was actually even before Obamacare. Now, he says in part, quote, "I know this is an important provision that resonates with all Americans. That's why I've always fought to make sure the Obamacare replacement plan maintains protections for Americans with pre-existing conditions. I am very pleased to see these provisions maintained in the released draft of the American Health Care Act and look forward to reassuring constituents at my meetings in the district and in my next town hall," end quote.
Mr. Sutler has his opinion. I have my job to do.
Dover Mayor Robin Christensen making it clear he will not step down from his position as chairman of the city's selection committee for Dover's next police chief. District 4 Councilman Roy Sudler Jr. made this request after what he calls unprofessional behavior at a January meeting between the Dover Police Department and Mayor Christensen.
He used vulgar language. He told the women, "You may want to leave. I'm going to use vulgar language."
According to Councilman Sudler, Christensen's apparent outburst was the result of a number of city leaders publicly supporting Deputy Chief Marvin Maley as the next police chief. One of those city leaders, District 31 Representative Sean Lynn, even took to Facebook in January, asking why Mayor Christensen was delaying Maley's selection and appointment. During an interview with 47 ABC Wednesday, Mayor Christensen admitted he was less than pleasant at the meeting. However, he argues that public display of support tainted the selection process.
But the bottom line on it is I told him that the chain of command would operate through the deputy chief until we had a new chief on board or he was promoted, and that was the way that it was going to be. And I was not going to tolerate any influence from within staff, from council, or from the FOP.
As chairman, Mayor Christensen will make the final presentation of the committee selection to the city council for a vote of approval. His pledge that the applicant pool will include a nationwide search. And while Sudler says right now he does support Deputy Chief Maley, he is open to applicants.
If someone else was to come along that exceeds his credentials from my observation, then I will move that name forward.
Lili Zheng, 47 ABC.
Campaign season is over. Now is the time to work for the good of the people of our state, whether you're Democrats or Republicans.
Passionate words from Delaware Governor-elect John Carney 2 days after winning the biggest race of his career. Carney, who will succeed current Governor Jack Markell after spending 6 years in what he described as a very divided Congress as a U.S. representative for Delaware. But it's through efforts like Return Day, which he says proved to be effective.
We had a bipartisan breakfast group that met on a weekly basis, and those Republicans became good friends, and we worked together on a lot of things, particularly things that affected our state. I think we need that and Return Day more than ever this year.
Also on board with burying the hatchet and unifying as one, the very core and purpose of Return Day is State Senator Colin Bonini. The District 16 senator was defeated by Carney in the race for governor, but he says he looks forward to any bipartisan efforts, especially when it comes to the state budget, which, according to Bonini, currently faces a deficit between $200 and $300 million.
I know that, you don't hear that kind of stuff coming out of Washington, D.C., but here in Delaware, John faces some very difficult decisions, and I think if I can help him make those decisions, and quite frankly, if my fellow Republicans can help him, give him the support to make those difficult decisions, I think we're going to do it.
As both sides adjust to an election victory,
it really hadn't set in until this morning when the executive security came to pick me up at my house. That was pretty different.
And loss.
If you're going to lose the election, at least lose a few pounds. So the good news is I lost some weight over the election.